Before starting the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Dr. Mark Andrews had always been a gifted surgeon. As a child, he would spend hours studying medical textbooks and practicing on his stuffed animals. His parents were both doctors, and they encouraged their son's passion for medicine. Mark grew up to become one of the most respected surgeons in the country. He was known for his skill in the operating room and his dedication to his patients. Despite his demanding job, Mark found time to fall in love with a beautiful girl named Emily. They got married in a small ceremony and settled into a cozy home near the hospital where Mark worked. Life was good for the couple, but Mark began to notice something strange. He would have these vivid dreams where he was performing surgery on a patient, but the patient was someone he had never seen before. These dreams became more frequent, and Mark found himself becoming obsessed with the patients in his dreams. He would spend hours researching their symptoms and medical histories, even though they didn't exist in real life. Mark began to feel like he was losing his grip on reality. He tried to talk to Emily about his dreams, but she didn't understand. She suggested he take some time off work and go on a vacation to clear his mind. While on vacation, Mark met a man named John who claimed to have experienced the same thing. John explained that he had been visited by a group of aliens who were using his dreams to communicate with him. At first, Mark was skeptical, but John showed him some convincing evidence, and Mark began to believe him. Mark returned home, and the dreams continued. But now he had a new sense of purpose. He started keeping a journal of his dreams and trying to decipher the messages the aliens were sending him. He spent countless hours poring over medical textbooks and researching obscure medical conditions. Finally, one night, Mark had a breakthrough. In his dream, he performed a surgery that cured a rare genetic disorder that had never been successfully treated before. When he woke up, he knew exactly what he had to do. He went to the hospital and convinced his colleagues to try the procedure on a real patient. The surgery was a success, and the patient was cured. Mark's discovery made headlines around the world, and he became famous overnight. But more importantly, he had finally found the answers he had been searching for. Mark continued to have dreams about medical breakthroughs, and he used his knowledge to make a real difference in the world. He never forgot about the aliens who had visited him, and he continued to search for more answers about their true nature. But for now, he was content to use his gift to help others and make a real impact on the world. As Mark's reputation grew, he began to receive invitations to speak at medical conferences around the world. He would share his research and knowledge, inspiring other doctors to think outside the box and try new approaches to treating their patients. But with fame came scrutiny. Some skeptics accused Mark of making up his dreams to gain attention and fame. They claimed that he was a fraud and that his work was not based on science. Mark was hurt by these accusations, but he knew that he couldn't let them stop him from pursuing his passion. He continued to work tirelessly, and soon the evidence of his discoveries became undeniable. One day, while attending a medical conference in Europe, Mark received an unexpected invitation to meet with a group of scientists who claimed to have evidence of extraterrestrial life. Mark was intrigued. He had always been fascinated by the possibility of life beyond our planet, and he couldn't resist the opportunity to learn more. The meeting was held in a secret location, and Mark was surprised to find that he was not the only scientist in attendance. There were doctors, physicists, and biologists from all over the world. The scientists presented their evidence, which included photographs and recordings of strange objects in the sky. They claimed that these objects were not of human origin, and that they were being piloted by intelligent beings. Mark listened intently, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. It was possible that the aliens who had visited him in his dreams were real, and that they were trying to communicate with him. The meeting ended, and Mark returned home to Emily with a newfound sense of purpose. He spent every spare moment researching the evidence presented at the meeting and trying to make sense of the messages in his dreams. Finally, one night, Mark had another breakthrough. In his dream, he saw an image of a strange device that he couldn't identify. But when he woke up, he had a clear image of the device in his mind. He immediately went to his laboratory and began to sketch out the design. He worked tirelessly for weeks, and finally, he had built a working prototype of the device. Mark was elated. He knew that the device had the potential to revolutionize the medical field, and he couldn't wait to share his discovery with the world. But as he prepared to present his research at a medical conference, Mark received a warning. Someone had discovered his connection to the alien scientists, and they were threatening to expose him. Mark was torn. He knew that his discovery was too important to keep hidden, but he also feared for his safety and the safety of his family. In the end, Mark decided to go ahead with his presentation. He knew that the truth would come out eventually, and he didn't want to let fear stop him from sharing his discovery. The presentation was a success. The device was hailed as a game changer, and Mark received accolades from his colleagues and the press. But as Mark was leaving the conference, he was approached by a group of men in suits. They warned him that if he continued to pursue his research, he would be putting himself and his family in danger. Mark was terrified, but he knew that he couldn't let fear stop him from pursuing his passion. He continued to work tirelessly, and his research continued to yield incredible results. In the end, Mark's discovery changed the world. The device he invented is now used in hospitals around the world, saving countless lives every day. And while Mark never forgot about the aliens who had visited him in his dreams, he knew that he had a bigger mission to fulfill. He had found his purpose in life, and he was determined to use his gift to make a real difference in the world. Mark's reputation as a pioneering medical researcher grew, and he was invited to speak at conferences and give interviews on television shows. He and Emily became well-known figures in the medical community, and they were admired for their commitment to their work and to each other. As Mark's work continued to progress, he was offered a prestigious position at a leading medical institution. He and Emily moved to a new city, where they bought a beautiful house and settled into their new life. But as time passed, Mark began to notice something strange happening to him. He would have moments where he felt like he was outside of his body, watching himself from a distance. He would also experience vivid dreams that felt more real than reality itself. At first, Mark brushed it off as stress from his work, but the experiences continued to intensify. He began to worry that something was seriously wrong. One day, Mark confided in Emily about his experiences. She listened patiently and suggested that they see a doctor. Mark agreed, and they made an appointment with a neurologist. After a battery of tests, the neurologist gave Mark and Emily some unexpected news. Mark had a rare neurological condition that was causing him to have out-of-body experiences and vivid dreams. There was no cure for the condition, but there were treatments that could help manage the symptoms. Mark was devastated by the news, but he refused to let it stop him from pursuing his work. He continued to work tirelessly, and his research continued to yield incredible results. But as time passed, Mark's condition began to worsen. The out-of-body experiences and vivid dreams became more frequent, and Mark became increasingly disoriented and confused. One day, Mark disappeared. Emily was frantic with worry, and she searched everywhere for him. It wasn't until several days later that she received a call from the police. Mark had been found wandering in a nearby park, disoriented and confused. He had been missing for several days, and no one knew where he had been. Emily was heartbroken. She knew that Mark's condition was only going to get worse, and she didn't want to see him suffer any longer. After much thought, Emily made the difficult decision to end Mark's suffering. She knew that it was what he would have wanted, and she didn't want to see him in pain any longer. In the end, Mark's legacy lived on. His groundbreaking medical research had changed the world, and he had left behind a legacy of innovation and discovery. But Emily would always remember him as the young surgeon who had captured her heart and whose passion for life had inspired her to live every day to the fullest. Emily struggled with the decision to end Mark's suffering for a long time. She sought out therapy and support from friends and family to cope with her grief and guilt. But eventually, she found solace in knowing that Mark's legacy would continue to live on through his research and the countless lives he had touched. As time passed, Emily began to heal and move forward with her life. She continued to work in the medical field, inspired by Mark's passion for helping others. Years later, Emily received a package in the mail. It was from Mark's former research team, and it contained a letter and a mysterious vial. The letter explained that the research team had made a breakthrough in their work and had developed a treatment for Mark's rare neurological condition. Emily was stunned. She had given up hope of ever finding a cure for Mark's condition. But now, it seemed like there was a chance for others who were suffering from the same illness. Excited and hopeful, Emily contacted the research team and arranged to have the treatment tested on patients. It was a success, and the treatment was approved for use in hospitals around the world. Emily was overjoyed to know that Mark's legacy had continued to inspire others to make a difference in the world. She felt like she had been given a gift, and she knew that it was her responsibility to share it with others. In the end, Emily realized that Mark's life had not been in vain. His passion and dedication had inspired countless people to pursue their dreams and make a difference in the world. And although their time together had been cut short, the love they shared would live on forever. Emily felt like Mark was still with her, guiding her every step of the way. She decided to dedicate her life to promoting awareness and supporting research for rare neurological conditions, like the one that had affected Mark. With her passion and determination, Emily became a leading advocate for neurological research and awareness. She spoke at conferences and events, sharing Mark's story and inspiring others to make a difference in the world. Through her advocacy work, Emily met other families who had been affected by rare neurological conditions. She formed deep bonds with them, and they supported each other through the difficult times. Emily never forgot the love she and Mark had shared, and she knew that he would be proud of her work. She continued to live her life to the fullest, always pushing herself to make a difference in the world. Years later, Emily received a prestigious award for her contributions to neurological research and advocacy. As she stood on stage, accepting the award, she felt Mark's presence with her, and she knew that their love had transcended time and space. In that moment, Emily realized that the unexpected ending to their story was not an ending at all. It was simply the beginning of a new chapter, filled with love, hope, and the promise of a better future for all those who were suffering from rare neurological conditions. And so, Emily continued to work tirelessly, knowing that Mark's legacy would live on through her, and that their love would continue to inspire others for generations to come. Years went by, and Emily's work continued to make a significant impact on the lives of many. She had never forgotten the love she shared with Mark and how his life and death had inspired her to make a difference. One day, while Emily was at a fundraising event for neurological research, she met a young surgeon named David. David was passionate about his work and shared Emily's dedication to helping others. As they talked, Emily felt a connection with David that she had never felt before. He reminded her of Mark in many ways: his intelligence, his compassion, and his drive to make a difference. Over time, Emily and David grew closer, and they fell in love. They worked together on many projects, and their shared passion for helping others brought them even closer. One day, as they were walking in the park, David stopped Emily and took her hand. He looked into her eyes and said, "Emily, I love you more than anything in this world. Will you marry me?" Emily was stunned, and tears welled up in her eyes. She knew that Mark would have wanted her to find happiness and love again, but she never thought she would find someone who would make her feel so alive. "Yes," Emily said, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I will marry you." As they embraced, Emily felt like she had been given a second chance at love. She knew that Mark would always hold a special place in her heart, but she also knew that she had a future to look forward to, filled with love, happiness, and the promise of a better world. And so, Emily and David got married, surrounded by friends, family, and the memory of the love that had inspired them both to make a difference in the world. As they stood together, looking into each other's eyes, they knew that their love was a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit and the resilience of the human heart. Emily and David's love continued to grow stronger each day. They worked together to support neurological research and help families affected by rare conditions. They traveled the world, giving speeches and inspiring others to make a difference. But one day, Emily received some devastating news. David had been diagnosed with the same rare neurological condition that had taken Mark's life many years ago. Emily was heartbroken, but she refused to give up hope. She threw herself into researching the condition and finding new treatments. She worked tirelessly to support David and give him the best care possible. Despite her efforts, David's condition continued to deteriorate. Emily knew that she was going to lose him, just like she had lost Mark. In the final days of David's life, Emily stayed by his side, holding his hand and telling him how much she loved him. As he took his last breath, Emily felt like a part of her soul had been ripped away. But even in the midst of her grief, Emily knew that she couldn't give up. She continued to work towards finding a cure for the neurological condition that had taken so much from her. She knew that David would want her to keep fighting, and she was determined to honor his memory by making a difference. Years went by, and Emily's work paid off. She helped develop a groundbreaking treatment for the neurological condition that had affected both Mark and David. The treatment was successful, and it gave hope to families all around the world. Emily felt like she had finally found closure. She knew that both Mark and David would be proud of her and the work she had done. As she looked back on her life, Emily realized that the unexpected ending to her story had been filled with both joy and heartbreak. But through it all, she had never given up hope. She had always believed in the power of love and the resilience of the human spirit, And so, Emily continued to work towards making the world a better place, knowing that her love for Mark and David would always guide her on her journey. Emily's groundbreaking treatment was celebrated worldwide, and she became a prominent figure in the medical field. Her work continued to inspire and impact countless lives, and she never forgot the love that had fueled her passion for helping others. As she grew older, Emily knew that her time on this earth was coming to an end, but she was at peace, knowing that she had lived a life full of purpose and meaning. One day, as she lay in her hospital bed, surrounded by her family and loved ones, Emily felt a sense of calm wash over her. She knew that she was ready to go, but she wanted to say goodbye to her loved ones first. As they gathered around her, Emily took each of their hands in hers. She looked into their eyes and said, "I love you all so much. Thank you for being a part of my life and for giving me so much love and joy." And with those words, Emily passed away, surrounded by the love and warmth of those she had touched throughout her life. Her legacy lived on, inspiring generations of medical professionals and activists to continue the fight against rare neurological conditions. Emily's story had been filled with unexpected twists and turns, but through it all, she had never lost sight of the power of love and the resilience of the human spirit, and for that, she would always be remembered and cherished. As Emily's funeral was held, her family and friends gathered to honor her life and legacy. People from all over the world sent messages of love and condolences, sharing stories of how Emily had touched their lives. One message stood out to Emily's daughter, Sarah. It was from a young woman who had been diagnosed with the same rare neurological condition that had affected Mark and David. She wrote that Emily's work had given her hope and that she was now receiving treatment that had improved her quality of life. Sarah was moved to tears by the message, knowing that her mother's legacy was still making a difference even after her passing. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything that Emily had done, not just for her family, but for people all around the world. As Sarah looked around at the people gathered to honor her mother, she felt a sense of pride. Emily's unexpected journey had been filled with both joy and heartbreak. But through it all, she had never lost sight of her purpose. She had dedicated her life to making the world a better place, and in doing so, she had touched countless lives. Sarah knew that her mother's legacy would continue to live on, inspiring others to make a difference and never give up hope. And as she looked up at the sky, she felt a sense of peace, knowing that her mother was watching over her, proud of the woman she had become.